career too. Trying to get people to really have that paradigm shift and just kind of show plants respect. I mean, I think that's something it's very easy for a lot of people, like, oh, I don't have a green thumb, like, and just plants are, oh, they're just something out there, and that's tough. I think for a lot of us and a lot of people in this room, we very much care about these plants, and these plants helped us survive, be here through our whole evolution and where we're at today. We owe them a lot of gratitude. Not just us, butterflies, the hummingbirds, the bees, everything lies on these plants. So let's get this. So I did not know that this was going to be a big part of my life. But I grew up in, oh, I'm Kevin, by the way, hi. So yes, Master of Science. Yeah, so if anyone kind of more familiar in this realm, I was the former production manager at Tree of Life Nursery the last 8 years or something like that, 8 or 9 years. And if you saw a lot of Dudleya growing there at that time, and also plants from the Channel Island, or what it like, so as well as a lot of the native. So I affectionately call myself a Dudleyophile. It's been one that I grew up in Laguna Beach, and when I found out that the Laguna Beach lived forever occurred only in the one canyon that I liked, hiking through. It's like, oh, I'm from here, you're from here, we're from here. So I think and when I found out how rare it was, later in this poaching effort.
Is that the one pictured right now?
Yep. This one is one from Catalina. So currently I'm the native plant manager. I'm in charge of, my job is to take care of the plants of Catalina Island, 43,000 acres. No big deal, it's a big responsibility. But yeah, but we do have Dudleya on Catalina. Yeah, let's see some questions. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview. What is Dudleya? Has anybody heard of Dudleya? I'm a scientist. I'm taking a very biased sample size. Okay, but anyway, so live forevers is a common name for them, but they only occur around in the western states around here, primarily all through California. I will say California and Baja. They're generally really rare. So these are some of the things we'll talk about, get through why it's so incredibly impactful and challenging with these poaching pressures. And then some of the challenges that they naturally face with our human evolution, and the more recent stuff with poaching. Anyone heard about the Dudleya poaching events? Everyone is going to be to talk. Good. Yeah, get more into that. So, and then some of the tools that we use for conservation. Really, it's more from a horticultural perspective, science perspective, as well as some of the legislature. The horticulture and science is more my background, so I'm not as much into this or any of the that state we're at with the real people really trying to fight some of the legalities and prosecutions that have happened, but okay, so Dudleyas are in the genus Dudleya. Live forevers are in the genus Dudleya. They're in the Crassulaceae family. You may have heard, and sorry to bring you back to your biology classes of Crassulaceae passive metabolism, CAM plants. But that's what gives the name to this family. With this really incredibly specialized photosynthesis ability to survive at really, really hot temperatures. And they only occur here, the succulents in the western areas around. That whole family is kind of mainly only in what we call the New World. They don't exist over in Africa. Our cactus, no cactus naturally over in Africa and parts of the old world continents. It's kind of interesting that our cactus and our state flower, the Schultzia, is an invasive species over there. Just learned that. But yeah, they usually have two different forms. You usually will see this big rosette of the Dahlia pulverulosa, that big chalk Dahlia. Might see out on all the hillsides all around, in bluff areas. You'll see like this. You've got a lot of these types of species down here in San Diego as well. The finger-like. If you look really closely, you will see a rosette in there. They do have upward-facing finger-like. That's actually a drought and light intensity response. So having your fingers up like that, you're not getting beat with direct sunlight. So they've gone through a lot of adaptation. You see that they're all through all a little bit into Washington. You have a little bit into Arizona, but look at how much is also down into Baja. And I don't think that gets enough attention, and I'll talk about a little bit of the Dahlia poaching. But yeah, primarily most of the species occur all around it in the coastal bluff areas and foothills around California. And we do have a lot on what we call the California Islands. So all the Channel Islands. There's a lot of really unique and rare species around, as well as some of these Baja, Mexico islands, all through here. So approximately 45 species. We already covered distribution, but what's really tremendous about this is 32 of those 45 are considered rare. So rarity of this group of plants of Dahlia is significantly high. You did see those chalk Dahlias, and they're one of those ones that are not considered rare. They have a lot of the larger ones. They're kind of more widely distributed, but there's all these other ones that either found it, made its way onto an island, just in these certain canyons around, and it's pretty incredible. They've evolved into their own species. So when you have something like poaching happen, that's astronomically devastating to the species. So these things have evolved over thousands of years, eons, and then just in a blink of an eye, we come in. 10, so almost a quarter of all those are federally listed as either endangered, threatened to become critically endangered. So those are protected under our state and federal Endangered Species Act. That means that's ringing the alarm bell. This needs protection, and luckily we have some protection, or at least still laws and things to really take care of. Right. So this is the Dahlia talking about the Laguna Beach Live Forever. Yeah, the CNPS rankings are rare. It's a 1B1. That's one of the highest rankings you can get, besides a 1BA, which is extinct. I like to hold a little bit of hope. Presume it's extinct, but maybe it's out. But yeah.
So can you explain the rating a little bit? Like, so 1B and B stand for something?
Yeah, so all the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, it's 1 to 4. But the 1B1, there is a list on the CNPS website that goes. So this CNPS came up with this because some things might not be on the endangered species list. That's actually, you have to petition and kind of sue the government to be able to put that on the list. But the CNPS did a great job of evaluating all the flora on our of the state and addressing what the same like the IUCN, but at a more localized level of its distribution, how rare it is, and also how threatened it is from becoming species. So there's a ranking system. That, and this is one of the highest. Some of the threats that Dahlia's encounter. So you see the like growing right. This is in Laguna Beach, right, where the Laguna Beach River lives. I got urban houses up on the hills, all facing the ocean. See all this invasive species all came in, escaped from wild cultivation, right in the habitat, just destroying the habitat. They can't take that much shade, and they can take a lot of shade, but pollinators and its whole lifestyle. see all the California-friendly plants and Australians and all those things. Other African, their Mary Island species. It really comes down to this. Same as the white sage, and a lot of these species, they need the coastal bluffs. They need the areas that we want to live too, looking at the ocean. So the urban development through there is just, it all comes to kind of that habitat loss. And then this happened. So this was about, I really got to give Jeremy Spath, who's down here in San Diego area with Hidden Agave. He's one of the authors of that book. But he was telling me, I was in grad school and I was trying to do a method of cloning the rarest plants in Catalina, my grad school work. There's only 6 plants left in existence and trying to overcome some challenges there. And I'm like, Jeremy, I don't think I'm gonna finish this in time. Like, I got a couple years. Conservancy's kind of in a weird spot. It's on the backside of the island. He's like, hey, have you heard about the dahlia poaching? And I'm like, yeah, it's terrifying me. He's like, it's getting really bad down in Baja too. And he's like, the supply is terrible. So if you can use this method, tissue culture, you can probably actually do some good here, some of these really rare species. So that's how I got into this whole world. And I'll talk a little bit more about that cultivating method later. But what happened was, right about 2018, there were some people from Korea and China, mainly Korea, that were wild harvesting Dahlia farinosa up in Marin and Mendocino, and just literally in the state parks harvesting. And this is a crop photo here, and finding thousands and thousands at a time. This as investigators in the CDFW, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, started investigating further. They were like, wow, this is way bigger than we thought. All these were getting shipped in boxes and boxes going back to other parts of the world, mainly Korea. And I think what that was happening was more that they were the central hub. So Korea actually have a lot of greenhouse growers too, and supply that part of the world with plants, and collectors and things. And so that's why have these people, this plant does not occur over there. Have the succulent phrase, and everybody on there can grow a succulent on their patio. They're much easier to grow than something you got to water all the time. And so they took advantage, go all the way across the world, wild harvest, ship those back, make a lot of profit. I don't like to say how much they make for that, or that's really salacious in some of the articles and things. I'm like, oh, they make that much. That caused its own problems too. What should you make from that? I see them on the hillsides. You get some localized. But I want to give some of the conservation work that's gone since then. So, and give some of that positivity to the story, because that was 2018. We've come a long way since then, and that poaching effort, although it still continues, and people are out there trying to get free plants from the wild and make profit. We have a lot more legislation, and we did interrupt thousands and thousands of plants that were wild harvested. Those plants. So I just want people to know that. I think people are like, oh, they poached and went away. Like, no, we found the poaching and we did something about it. And so the California Native Plant Society did a lot about it. So yeah, you guys are all members. Give yourselves that's what that does. Well, this is from Steve McCabe. Steve, if you don't know Steve, he is like the Dudley guru. And so he's the retired director up at Santa Cruz Marino up there. So all those plants went to that arboretum. They were able to, with the help of a lot of volunteers, start to pop them up, get them a nice, healthy root system, volunteer effort. Now, I wanted to bring a little bit more attention to this, and if anyone doesn't know, it's not unique to California. So poaching in general is not unique to plants, especially rare succulents, cactus, all that has been a thing for a while. Peyote cactus, saguaro cactus, a lot of those rare succulents and things that have been poached a lot. But Dudleya, the one that people have grown Dudleya, they think they can just grab a leaf and a new plant to grow from that leaf. It's pretty cool. Sedums do that, crassulaceae type plants do that. Dudleya do not. So a lot of the succulents you see at Walmart or Home Depot, that's usually how they grow up, pop off the leaves or. But this species, we thought it was bad with Dudleya farinosa. Dudleya farinosa up in the northern coast is actually pretty widespread. It's not on the rarity list on those two that are rare. This one is exceptionally rare. This is Dudleya pachyphytum. This occurs at on Cedros Island, so the Cedros in Baja, and this species almost was completely wiped from that island. This was in 2017. So before all the Dudleya farinosa poaching that we found out about here in California was happening down at Baja. And this species is very unique. It's got this huge, big chunks, chunky leaves. It's got a really unique characteristic that was very sought after. And it's an island, so it's restricted to one location. And this plant is just been it's really bad. Helicopters came in while collecting, and this is stuff that Steve that I don't think it's enough pressure, tension down there that it's this species. They also had their own governments that were able to intercept a lot of that. We didn't see this was out in 2017. But unfortunately, some of the drug trafficking and activity out there in Cedros Island and Baja in Mexico, they did the same thing. We hear, wait, how much are they making for that? You can see how that incentivizes with any type of criminal activity that can perpetuate throughout the country. But they have a park system, just like us, the national park system down in Mexico. And so I just want to highlight some of these people doing this work. So some of the conservationists that intercepted these plants, risked intercepting these plants, despite all that threat. And same as us up here, boxed them up and got them, built a nursery, re-established those plants. Now, unfortunately, that criminal activity and everything out on Cedros Island is still so bad, they're not able to do restoration. These will not be returning to the island anytime soon, but we have this population. Now, I want to, again, bring you back to, we're not just looking at a plant. We're looking at the nectar source for a butterfly. We have the seeds for birds. We're looking at the carbon sequestration. We're looking at the soil stabilization of those areas. Give these plants some respect. So this was a collaboration between two groups. The CONANE. So that's like their National Park Service. And HESI, who also known as the Conservation and all through the islands down in Baja work together. So it's kind of our conservation restoration group for Baja. And we work together in this thing called the International collaboration of international botanical collaboration. Islands of California Botanical Collaborative. It's kind of great. And we're all island scientists that work together. And when they were telling me all the stories, they gave me share this story. It's tough. You know, they're working really, really hard to find a good way to bring some awareness, but also know that a lot of good. And on Catalina, this was a unique case right when I moved there. Just showing how vulnerable these rare species can be. So this is the island dahlia, or bright green dahlia. I don't like that name; it's not that bright green. So I always say island dahlia. I think it's pretty, so that's not a great color name either. Learn the scientific names. Dahlia virin subspecies and you can tell this from there. See, I have like surfboard like these. All the best surf spots are on the backside of the island. So I got a call while I was at work. We had a nursery on Catalina Island, and I got a call from the ranger. Well, doesn't want his face shown, but he got a call from one of the eco tour drivers. And he heard about the poaching effort, or the poaching and everything that's going on. He says, "Hey, I just saw a little Subaru Suzuki Samurai just filling up dahlia on the backside near Ben Weston." You gotta be kidding me. And ranger went, stopped him. It was his uncle.
Oh.
Everyone's an uncle on that island, but and he confiscated those others, brought them to me at the nursery, and it turned out when we were talking about relationships with the plant, when he brought it up, I knew exactly which dahlia that was, because I've been taking photos of that. And we potted it up, and there was a lot more of them too, but we potted them up. Just recently, this past year, we returned it back to the protected area back. They're back where they're on. These plants, I get calls like this all the time. People sending me photos on the ferry coming across the island, and they're sitting next to somebody on the Cat Express, and they got a bunch of dahlia, just a little souvenir, and take it home. But again, it's not just the plant; it's food for that butterfly. We have the Avalon blue butterfly, Avalon hair streak. The Avalon hair streak, endemic to Catalina Island. So all the species, it needs that plant for its life cycle. That's what you're taking more than just that plant.
You said to me.
It's okay, go ahead.
Are they selling some of the types of dahlias too with the nursery? Is that what they're doing?
So our nursery is a conservation nursery, although it is open to the public. In the middle of the island, good luck getting to me. But you're more than welcome. And I'm always making the resources available. Any of the nurseries out, I'm giving seed, plants, don't charge for plants. They can pay for large, that would help. But yeah. So we make it as available as possible. And so that localized poaching is really an issue too. Again, I won't say how much people are making, because that's what happens. People, when they put that in the article, they're making how much. And so the species in your area, they can be really rare. So this is Dahlia verdii. So it is on the endangered species list.
The last one, you didn't have it written down what the botanical name was?
Oh yeah, you want to write it down?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe after, it's a lot of letters. Dahlia virens, VIRE. Yes. Subspecies insularis. ARIS.
I just abbreviated.
Got it. So this one's Dahlia Verde. This one occurs right around, from like Ventura, a little bit down, into somewhere in the Santa Fe, all the way to, I think, we have San Diego. This one, you can see all the lichen around here. Really needs that type of habitat for a lot of the seed establishments. And that whole area, almost 95% of all that habitat was burned in the 2014 spring fire. And all that habitat is just destroyed with a lot of, and that lichen is just not there. So this species is just hanging on by a thread. Already rare to get. So there is things you can do besides just growing them on your own, and I'll get into that too. But there is a phone number you can call, the Cal tip line. This is how some of the poaching was reported. Not the whole Intel ball rolling on poaching protection. So there was not just the CDFW officer who stopped people, but people reporting too. So go ahead and take a photo. If you're around somebody and you don't want, the person doing that type of poaching, this goes beyond just doe. This goes for abalone. This goes for, starfish and stuff at the tide pools and everything like that. There is something you can do. If you don't want to be heard that you're giving a report, you can text tip 411. I've done this before. They respond. Pretty amazing. Yeah. And we established the law. Or we passed the bill, AB, Assembly Bill 22-223, and giving some really heavy penalties. This is a lot of effort by the Native Plant Society to help get this passed. And this is huge. This is huge. This is the first time we've had a bill, and I feel like that actually has some legalities to perspective. They just had to be take the hit. And there's some heavy fines, $5,000 per plant. Per plant. And that's minimum. You can face jail. Now, a lot of that will probably do it if you are trying to resell those people who are doing. So that's up to the courts to figure this type of things out. But good, yeah. Some consequences for doing this. So why were they poaching? And this I think goes down to a very simple principle of economics. You get a very rare plant across the world. It's not represented in the horticultural trade at all. People don't have access to it. So you have a very small supply equals large. Yeah, small and large demand, high profit. So we just tried to, part of my master's work was looking, and our physician happened to be working at a large-scale native plant nursery at Tree of Life. We can actually do something about this, increase the supply to decrease that demand. So I pulled Mike and Jeff into the meeting. I said, I have an idea. We're going to grow a ton of plants, make no profit, sell it for nothing. For-profit nursery. But they were behind. They were like, okay, no, I get it, but something we can do. So my master's work was to, okay, let's work towards using tools, horticulture, to be able to just try to increase these in availability. So that's what we call conservation. This is, again, this does not just apply to Dudley or other things. So what we did is we looked, I worked with Steve McCabe, again, that Dudley guru. We were like, he was a little more involved and knew a lot more of what species were being targeted. And again, some of those ones on islands, we also wanted to really focus on too. One, because we love them, protect them. but also they were the most known for being in the research. And then yeah, Dudley Aquarium.
So do you know where they're from? Because it's the packet bison from the Mexican island, right?
Yes.
And then what are the one on the right is the one from Catalina?
Yeah, here I'll go through it.
Oh,
So
sure, yeah.
this one here is Dudley Aquarium. This is up from Northern California, Mendocino County, all through there. Dudley Noma is on one small spot, very small spot, Santa Rosa Island. It is listed. This one really targeted. Dudley virus is subspecies Hathii, so this is the other subspecies that occurs on Catalina with endemic over the country. This one's making its way a lot in the political grid, so I think we're getting pretty good there. Dudley stolonifera, one of the few Dudleys that can tolerate some shade. So on a patio, we were really concerned about that. There's two sort of canyons in the Woody Beach, inaccessible. It's right there. So things behind that, people start to figure out where a lot of those things are. They don't put their blocking their location. So we wanted to get that one as well. I can find them in with all that. That'd be a Trasky, Santa Barbara Island, any fisherman would go right getting access. They didn't know the and the way I was trying to develop some of these protocols, make it as general as possible to go across the entire genus, so that we can do a lot of the propagation work, not just for these ones, they're just over.
Does the fern also retain that color like that?
That's more of a drought response.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they can be any, but that's part of why it's good. It's made a rainy pattern. So there's challenges to growing seed, or growing. They're primarily done by seed. So that seems easy, and luckily they gives out a lot of seed. But with these rare plants, those seeds are very precious to that environment, as well as just even getting access to seeds. So that's scarce resources, the rarity, the ability to get enough supply the demanding market to make a difference. And the ease of hybridization as a commercial nursery, Tree of Life, I grew about 14 species and I try to keep them as separately as possible. I literally just go out one day with my coffee and I see a hummingbird right at the time is flowering and hit every 14 species across the whole acreage we have, acres and acres we have in Tree of Life. I'm like, oh my God. And you see it. So this is the stolonifera. This seed actually came from a conservation seed bank. I won't say who, a little embarrassing, but grew out that seed. That is definitely a hybrid. They'll only get stolonifera only get this big. Likely it was crossed with Britonia. So probably collected starting with a lot of Britonia. So yeah, they hybridize like crazy. So to how do you put these to market when you have not species? So we tried exclusionary tents. So PVC the plots, but now I got to be the hummingbird. So it was a challenge, and it was just great. It still worked. And then I found out which seeds actually needed to be hand pollinated, which ones didn't. A lot of science there to try to pass that off. So
That Edulus?
Hathii. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that was another one to make sure I labeled the paintbrush. Just kept it in there. Spread and you're like, and the hummingbird. Yeah. So we used a method called plant tissue. So I learned this at Hawaii, at the University of Hawaii. The method of growing plants in test tubes. Cloning. How do you clone a Dudley? They don't do that leaf response where you grab off a leaf and a new plant sprouts out and that's genetically identically the same plant. So how do I get large scale production of this exact species I can farm it? But I can't just take a cutting. There might be some offshoots, but that would be years, maybe, to get an offshoot to come off. Maybe a couple of years to get, or a year to get a couple, but that's not enough to supply the market to make a significant impact. So we use this method called micropropagation for plant tissue. So what that is, you can see this is all Dahlia, all here at that Dahlia. I can produce a lot of plants this way. So I grow little Dahlia, sterilize it in a bleach solution. I have it growing inside of essentially a large test tube with everything the plant needs in here, all the nutrients, all the phytochemicals, plant chemicals, and I'm kind of in the driver's seat. I use natural plant hormones, and hormones are just signaling compounds. It's telling that we have hormones happening, signaling for us stuff all the time right now. You know it or not, inside your bodies. Plants are doing the same thing. I can manipulate that in the lab and add that to the medium. And as those cells are dividing, I can say, hey, I want new shoots. You see how some of the Dahlia will put on new heads? I can signal that for hormone. You know about root hormones, hormones, do cuttings. There are shoots. So manipulate that. So one, and it has everything it needs to grow in this environment. I have grow lights, I have a lab, nutrients supplied to it, sugars, vitamins, all that in this media. Figure out what combination and the concentration was best for the plant. And then all of a sudden I can get, say I get 2 new or 10 new shoots off the plant. I can separate, literally do plant surgery and isolate and get 10 new plants. Repeat the cycle. Put that on my media, those 10 give me another 10. Now I have 100 plants. I can do that in about a month or 2 months. Keep it going. Within 6 replications, 10 factor 6 having 1 million plants. And usually I have a slide about Spock thinking about, well, it depends on the amount of grain and everything. The trouble of tribbles, because it felt like that. But yeah, you're restricted by like ability and sunlight. Yeah, principally, yeah, in 6 months, you maybe get to a and I only needed 1 plant. What's really great too is I only need 1, I just need the tissue. So I can, let's say I have a really rare plant. Let's say there was only 1 plant in existence that was, say, sought after. I'd take a leaf off that, go to what's called a callus formation, dedifferentiated cells. Think of it like a stem cell. It's no longer a leaf tissue. It's no longer a root tissue. I've reverted it to the cell mass. Now every single cell is waiting, signal to be in whatever I want. And so let's go. So then I signal it to give me new shoots. And this is Dahlia stolonifera on the right, on the left, Dahlia noma on the right. And we started to work it out. Okay, we got the shoot hormones. Some of these shoot and root hormones kind of work in tandem together. But you know, one that's a little bit higher concentration depending on the out one. Look, I have new Dahlias coming, all that. But we got way more than that, 10 factor of 10. Great. This one, Noma, this one reacted where that root hormone was a little too high. It just re-reacted to that amount, so I dropped that shoots. And there we go. Start dividing them out. Dividing them out and growing them without those hormones and the media. They loved it. Got a nice, good environment. It's big. Acclimatized them out. And this is all at Tree of Life. And we did it in just a little single wide trailer. 3-room trailer. This is Dudley Verdi. You asked me, but yes, I have a limit. We were, so just like if anyone's done any greenhouse where you've heard hardening off plants, right? So you got everything growing in a nice, clean environment, nice, healthy, a lot of moisture, everything like that. You want to toughen them up, just like your kids at home, right? Right, Mom? Okay. You want to toughen them up so they can handle that outside environment. And you gotta do the same thing with the lab. So they go from the lab, greenhouse, greenhouse, Dudley was tough. I mean, like they were tough already. They were able to handle it. They kind of it would drop some leaves and then new ones. So this, we were just going right out to cutting flat out in the greenhouse. And if anyone bought Dudley in the last, it's been 5 years now, 6. Yeah, a lot of those came. And we did it. Like we just got amazing supply. These are all Dudley pack of vinyl. So it's all being poached out. We got a really good, clean, pure source. A lot of Dudley.
They're the ones from that island.
Citrus.
Oh.
See that really unique form.
And you did that with the clones.
Yes.
So you can't grow any of them. They won't grow babies next to them. Like
Depends on the species. They can form things out and they do put out seed, but they're usually pretty restricted. Almost they are. In this case, it only occurs on land. It's out in the ocean. It's not able. That seed's not able to travel across the ocean. So poaching comes in. From what I heard, a lot of fentanyl coming from China. Got a big shipping container. Hey, you got plants that want to go to China.
so this is the one that was so rare and all poached, and then we have a whole bunch. So that's a success story thing.
Yeah. So now what we do is we can. What's really great about this tissue culture approach? Thanks for that question. Commercially, if I wanted to ship a rooted plant like this in soil and ship it to those other areas, they should go through a quarantine process, right? An agricultural inspection, everything like that. Plants grown from tissue culture bypass all that. So a lot of our food crops, things do that because we know there's no Argentine ants, there's none of that stuff in that. These are clean, sterilized plants. If they're grown like this, and ship them like this, and then just climatize those out. Another, I sterilize them. They go through all the material, goes through an autoclave, all the everything, all these containers, all the tools, and the plant themselves are initially sterilized. Any and all. Bleach the lights. Yeah, so ethical sources. Tori been here too. The Neil's Nursery, down, Native West, all these areas, in your area, down here in the southern areas, in Agave. I'm a little bit out of the horticultural world now, nursery world. So if there's more out there, just reach out. Do the same thing with the sages. Ask where those came from. Up north, the Tree of Life, as long as they're still there, they'll be producing a lot of job. Yeah. Igor Paint Foundation, LBG, Rodated Nursery, California Nursery, it's a newer kind of nursery starting up. There's some young kids and they're after the hungry to grow on plants. They're doing a great job.
I heard that Tree of Life is going all this one's.
That is correct. Yes.
Can we still visit it?
Oh yeah, Musa. You're right. You know what? Yeah, I forgot Musa, and I forgot my own nursery.
Oh.
So yeah. It's the Ackerman Native Plant Nursery. We're the only. This is my own. It's my big challenge too. It's my big biosecurity thing. If I'm not growing native plants on Catalina, they'll bring in invasives. So it's to take over. So that's a big part of it.
So you're growing them to replant them all over Catalina,
Yes,
otherwise you try and make greens and fruits all over.
correct. Yeah. And local chapters. You guys are the ethical growers. I know, just by our rules, just go for cutting, seed collection, anything like that, no more than 5%. Statistic nerds in here, your p value of 0.5. Yeah, so that 5%, you're taking it.
Anyone have any questions? Kevin? There it is.
I have a question. You mentioned earlier how to block a location when you're taking a photo.
How do you block the location when you're taking the photo?
Does anybody know that answer? I should be using iNaturalist a lot more. My boss gets on me all the time about it. Very impressive and incentive herbariums, but
That's so that we don't give away
yeah.
the.
I think it's just right as you do your posts. I think right as you do your post. Selection there. I think if you even put for. I know there's been effort.
Any other questions?
Great presentation. Thank you for sharing. The cultivation stuff was fantastic for control and obviously very successful. Did Tree of Life also formalize governance for partners and suppliers to focus on reducing opportunities to bring in plants that were properly provided?
Yeah. So did we work with partners to make sure we could also get?
Do you just rely on Fed and state to enforce, or as a lead amongst ethical sources, do you also impose governance for
No.
anybody that works with you?
Yeah, we didn't. We weren't involved. We weren't involved in that. In fact, that was part of the challenge, was getting initial seed supply. But as the story kind of gets out, there were realizing, actually, me working as a grad student did the most in that, and knowing that this was research based too, because I didn't really get into this for the sake of time too, but this method, right across the street at the San Diego Zoo, they're doing cryopreservation of embryos. So they're doing cryopreservation for rhino embryos, giraffe, all those species. They have one vat available that they're going to start with plants. Tissue culture is the intermediate step towards cryopreservation. So that's why it was so important as well. Not only just to supply, get a lot of plants out there, but right as you were talking about seed, and then, hey, we have some seed available, but there's only they're a couple years old, they lose viability. That's the problem with seed. It's a little baby plant the size of a little seed coat, and it's consuming the carbohydrates in there, and over time they lose their viability. So this method is a way to get plants in the same principle of seed banking, but towards genetic preservation almost from death.
So enough labs have been doing micropropagation for so long. Are there labs that you farm out that labor intensive workflow to?
Yeah, they're all focused on more agricultural food products. This is not a catch. But yes, San Diego Zoo is starting to do that non-commercially. But these small conservation things are looking more towards germplasm storage, which is the same thing as that seed banking and making sure that we're preventing extinction. We'll get to that. We'll get into research questions, everything like that, but let's make sure the species is.
Thank you.
So with micropropagation, presumably there are more genetically identical. Considering your restoration, what would you presumably use a different method trying to certain different bugs?
Yeah. So you notice I didn't talk besides plant returning to the environment that was already collected. This was not a genetic biodiversity problem at restoration. This was a strictly economical problem. That's why we use the principle of economics. Where it didn't matter the genetic diversity of the ones that were being proposed. That's not why they were proposed. However, to your question, yes, if it's very difficult to grow a particular plant, say seeds don't, they just don't produce a seed, there's something wrong. Pollinator might be extinct. The genetic diversity is causing an issue where we're not forming viable embryos. I deal with this a lot with some species on Catalina. We have the rarest tree shrub in all of America, Catalina Island Conservancy, 6 plants. Backside of the island. And they have this hybridization issue, same thing like that. All my seeds fall. It's just one of the most difficult plants to get excited.
It's a tree, you said?
Yeah. And so micro propagation is exactly. Also my parents would say.
Irrigation programs.
Correct. So when it gets to that genetic bottleneck with 6 plants, I want to clone everyone, so I capture all of them. So, yeah. And then when you do for like larger populations, yeah, you want to do your best job. And you do this for restoration anyways, if you're taking cuttings. Typically you will see if it's something that's not doing what you try to get.
Any other questions for Kevin?
Just wanted to aid success with.
Yeah, we have not
So
had.
repeat the question, we couldn't hear it over here.
So have we seen any impacts? So have we seen an impact from this propagation? We have not seen this large scale wild harvesting like we did. I think a lot of that had to do with the legislation and enforcement. Baja is a different story, I'm worried. But as far as just that major impact, propagation stuff, yes, we do have a lot more in that nursery. And that's, I can't speak for the other one then, but I do, yes, we do hear a lot. Well, especially that village.
Right?
Thanks so much for all your work, man. It's awesome what you're doing. So really big ups to your project and all the work that you put into this. My question is, do you know if there are cultivation efforts going on in Korea, in Asia, where these plants were being exported to? Are there similar labs to like undertaking here, try and create mass amounts of products? They would probably want to turn a profit on over there. You know of any of that going on?
Yes and no. So they, as far as the horticultural, like the tissue culture process, then yes, they will use that method for a lot of the succulents are going that way. See now a lot of those aeoniums and a lot of aloes are done with tissue culture now, which is a great thing. So I hope so. I hope that we can stop wild harvest, and maybe they can't recover what was stolen. Hopefully we can bring back to that wild population. It's going to have to just heal over time, but maybe that was it. And hopefully that, yeah, that was, they got the message that we can give plants some respect, and there are punishments for doing what you did. Maybe you could have gone through it a different route to get access to these plants. But yeah, now that they have, maybe that.
Thank you.